22 degrees Christmas Eve in Denver, and two little girls were huddled behind a shopping plaza dumpster. They'd been there since morning, 12 hours in the cold, hoping someone, anyone would notice. "Please don't take us back," one whispered when Marcus Webb approached. "We'll be good," the other added, her voice trembling. "We promise we'll be good." Marcus froze. What he'd thought were just trash bags weren't trash at all. They were two 8-year-old girls, maybe younger, pressed together under torn blankets. Around their necks hung small, tarnished lockets. Marcus was just a single dad trying to get home to his son. He thought he'd call authorities, make sure the girls were safe, and move on with his life. He had no idea that the tiny lockets they wore would change everything. Before we continue, tell us, where in the world are you tuning in from? We love seeing how far our stories travel. Marcus Webb was driving home through Lakewood at 8:45 p.m. on Christmas Eve when his headlights caught movement behind a shopping plaza dumpster. He almost ignored it. Then he saw it again. He pulled into the alley, engine idling, and stepped out into the cold. Two small figures were pressed against the brick wall. Torn blankets, tangled hair, bare hands tucked under their arms. They froze when they saw him. "Hey," Marcus said carefully, crouching a few feet away. "You girls okay?" The one on the right tightened her grip on the other's hand. "Please don't take us back," she whispered. "We'll be good." The words hit hard. "I'm not taking you anywhere," Marcus said. "Who are you scared of?" "Our stepdad, Victor." "How long have you been out here?" "Since morning." It was almost 9 at night. Marcus swallowed. "He left you?" A nod. "He said we're too much trouble," the first girl added. "He said not to come home." The cold air felt sharper after that. "What are your names?" "Ariana. Bianca." "I'm Marcus." They didn't respond. He stood, stepped aside, pulled out his phone. He should call the police. That was the right move. Let the system handle it. Behind him, Bianca coughed. It was small, dry, tired. Marcus turned back. "It's too cold to stay here. I have a son at home. You can warm up there while I make some calls." Bianca shook her head. "No, police." "There will be police," gently, "but not tonight. Tonight, you get warm." Ariana studied him for a long second. Then she nodded once. He took off his coat and draped it over both of them. They flinched, but didn't pull away. "Can you stand?" It took effort. Bianca stumbled. Ariana caught her. Marcus opened the back door of his truck and helped them inside. He turned the heat all the way up. On the drive, no one spoke. When they pulled into his driveway, the porch light was on. Mrs. Kowalski's house next door glowed warmly. "Stay here," he told them. Inside, Leo was on the couch in dinosaur pajamas. "You're late." "I know." He hesitated, then said quietly, "There are two girls in my truck. They need help." Mrs. Kowalski didn't ask questions. She grabbed extra blankets. A minute later, Ariana and Bianca stepped into the house. They stopped just inside the doorway like they weren't sure they were allowed to cross it. Leo stared at them. Then he grinned. "Do you want to see my T-Rex? He glows." The twins blinked. "He's not scary, only a little." Mrs. Kowalski clapped once. "Baths, now." Upstairs, Ariana asked in a small voice, "Are we allowed to use the towels?" Marcus looked at her. "Yes, you're allowed." Later, wrapped in clean pajamas, they sat on the living room floor while Leo explained dinosaurs like it was the most important lesson of their lives. They ate grilled cheese slowly, like they weren't sure it wouldn't disappear. When it was time for bed, Marcus said, "You can sleep in Leo's room." Leo immediately dragged his sleeping bag on the floor. "Camping night." Bianca hesitated. "Are you mad?" Leo frowned. "Why would I be mad?" They climbed into his bed carefully. Marcus turned off the light, leaving only a small lamp glowing. "Mr. Marcus?" Ariana said. "Yes?" "Are we in trouble?" He met her eyes in the dim room. "No," he said firmly, "you're not in trouble." Bianca was already asleep. Ariana watched him for another second, then lay down beside her sister. Marcus closed the door softly. Downstairs, the house felt different. Not louder, not chaotic, just fuller. At 11:30 p.m., he picked up his phone and dialed the non-emergency police line. But as it rang, he glanced toward the stairs. 2 little girls were sleeping in his son's bed. And somehow, in less than an hour, everything had shifted. The police car pulled up at 9:12 a.m. on Christmas morning. Marcus had barely slept. He'd sat at the kitchen table most of the night, paperwork spread in front of him, coffee growing cold again, listening for any sound from upstairs. When the officer knocked, Leo ran toward the door before Marcus could stop him. "Are they in trouble?" Leo asked immediately. "No one's in trouble," Marcus said, resting a hand on his son's shoulder. Ariana and Bianca were sitting close together on the couch when the officer stepped inside. They stiffened the moment they saw the uniform. "It's okay," Marcus said quietly. "He's just here to help." Bianca's fingers curled around the small locket at her neck. Ariana sat straighter, like she was bracing for impact. The officer crouched to their level. "You girls want to tell me what happened?" They didn't look at him, they looked at Marcus. He nodded once. Ariana spoke first. "Victor left us behind the store." "What store?" "The one with the green sign," Bianca whispered. The officer wrote things down carefully. No rush, no raised voice. "Your mom?" he asked gently. Both girls went silent. "She's gone," Ariana said after a moment. "Gone where?" "Victor told us she didn't want us anymore," Bianca added, voice shaking. Marcus felt something tighten in his chest, but kept his expression steady. An hour later, Child Protective Services was involved. A social worker named Dana arrived just before noon, clipboard in hand, expression kind but practiced. She spoke with the girls privately in the dining room, while Marcus stood in the kitchen pretending not to listen. Leo tugged at his sleeve. "Are they staying, right?" "I don't know yet, buddy." "They should," Leo said firmly. "They don't have gloves." Dana stepped into the kitchen eventually. "Their stepfather has prior incidents," she said quietly. "Substance abuse, domestic disturbance reports, nothing stuck long term." "He abandoned them," Marcus said flatly. "Yes, we're treating it that way." "And their mother?" Dana hesitated. "We're trying to locate her." That answer lingered. "Given the holiday and the circumstances, would you be willing to take temporary emergency placement?" Marcus didn't hesitate this time. Yes. Paperwork followed, signatures, home inspection, questions about income, work schedule, background checks. Upstairs, Leo was showing Ariana how to build a dinosaur puzzle. Bianca sat close by, watching every movement like she was memorizing how a safe home worked. That first week settled into something cautious. The girls woke early like they were afraid to sleep too long. They folded their blankets carefully every morning without being asked. They asked permission for everything. "Can I sit here? Can I drink water? Is it okay if I use the bathroom?" Marcus answered the same way each time. "You don't have to ask." But they kept asking. Bianca flinched whenever he moved too quickly. If a cabinet door shut loudly, both girls froze. At dinner, they ate fast, too fast. "Slow down," Leo told them once. "No one's stealing it." Bianca glanced up. "You promise?" Leo looked offended. "Yeah, we have more." Marcus started keeping the pantry full and visible. At night, Ariana stayed awake longer than Bianca. Marcus noticed she waited until the house was completely quiet before letting herself sleep. One evening, as he tucked them in, he asked gently, "Did Victor hurt you?" Silence. Bianca pulled the blanket higher. Ariana answered without looking at him. "Only when we were loud." Marcus kept his voice even. "You're allowed to be loud here." That didn't seem to register yet. The private investigator Marcus had already hired was working double time, tracking down Victor and searching for Natalia. He told himself it was to speed up locating Victor and their mother, but there was something else beneath that, an unease he couldn't name. The private investigator confirmed Victor was already in custody in Utah and charged with abandonment and child endangerment. Dana called with the update. "It'll be a while before anything is resolved," she said. "Court dates, custody determinations. And the mother? Still searching. Marcus hung up and leaned back against the kitchen counter. That night, Bianca had a nightmare. She screamed once, sharp and terrified. Marcus was in their doorway in seconds. Leo wasn't far behind him. "It's okay," Marcus said softly, kneeling beside the bed. "You're safe." Bianca's eyes darted around the room before settling on him. "He's not here?" she whispered. "No." Ariana reached for her sister's hand. Leo crossed his arms. "If he comes, I'll bite him." For the first time, Ariana almost smiled. Later, when the house quieted again, Marcus noticed something as Bianca drifted back to sleep. Both girls wore identical lockets. They'd never taken them off. He hadn't asked about them yet, but something about the way they held them, especially when they were scared, told him those small pieces of metal mattered more than anything else they owned. And he had a feeling the answers he was looking for were hanging right there around their necks. By mid-January, the snow had melted into dirty slush in the Lakewood streets, but the quiet routine inside Marcus's house had begun to feel like something solid. Not safe, not perfect, just steady. Ariana and Bianca had started school again, holding hands as they walked into the classroom, but flinching at sudden noises in the hall. Marcus sat in the car each morning until the bell rang, watching them vanish into the building. Leo sat in the back seat, chattering about dinosaurs, oblivious to the weight Marcus carried in silence. At home, the twins' routines were careful, measured. Breakfast was a slow ritual. Lunches were packed and repacked multiple times. Even brushing teeth had to be approved. Marcus learned patience he didn't know he had. Every time he moved too fast, they flinched. Every raised voice in the house, no matter how minor, made them pause. One afternoon, as Marcus folded laundry, Bianca tugged at his sleeve. "Mr. Marcus, can we talk?" He knelt down. "Of course." She glanced at Ariana, who nodded. "Victor, he's gone, right?" "Yes, he's not coming back. He's been arrested." Bianca exhaled slowly. We are scared he might still find us. Or Mom, she might not want us." Marcus's throat tightened. "I promise, no one's going to take you away from a safe place. You're not in trouble, and your mom, we're looking for her. I'll find her." The girls didn't hug him. They weren't ready. Instead, Ariana adjusted the blanket around her shoulders. We don't know what safe feels like yet." Marcus nodded. "That's okay. You'll learn." Meanwhile, Marcus had hired a private investigator. He gave the man Victor's full name, last known address, and details from the police report. It was one thing to tell himself the girls were safe. It was another to make sure Victor couldn't return. Victor was found within 10 days in Utah, living in a rundown motel, arrested on charges of child abandonment and abuse. Marcus called Dana at CPS to confirm. The relief was immediate, but muted. The girls still didn't look entirely at ease. At home, evenings were quieter. Leo read to them from dinosaur books, and sometimes Bianca whispered answers under her breath. Ariana corrected his pronunciation, but in a soft voice, careful not to startle anyone. Then came the night the lockets drew Marcus's attention. The girls had left them on the coffee table while doing homework. He picked one up. Tarnished silver, the chain worn but intact. Curious, he opened it. A tiny photograph stared back at him, a young woman with wide, bright eyes. Something in the set of her jaw, the tilt of her head. He froze. "Marcus?" Ariana's voice. She'd noticed him staring. "Is it broken?" "No, it's fine," he said, but he couldn't stop looking at the photo. Something deep inside him stirred, something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. Bianca leaned over. "Mom," she said softly. Marcus blinked. "Your mom?" "Yes," Ariana said, her voice a whisper. "That's her." He glanced back at the twins. They were pale, holding the lockets tightly, almost afraid to breathe. The weight of what they were saying pressed into the room. He sank into the couch, staring at the photograph, at the girls' faces. The timeline hit him like a punch. Natalia Reyes, my Natalia, vanished 9 years ago. Twins, 8 years old. Their faces, their eyes, it all fit. The first word that came to him was impossible. My daughters. He didn't say it out loud, Not yet. Later that night, he held the lockets on the table, flipping them open and closed, examining every detail. The resemblance was uncanny. The curves of Bianca's nose, Ariana's eyebrows, the stubborn set of their chins, they all mirrored someone he had loved and lost. Marcus made a decision. He wouldn't sleep until he knew for certain. The private investigator now had a new assignment: locate Natalia Reyes and find out if she was alive. As the girls slept that night in Leo's bed, Leo curled up on the floor in his sleeping bag, Marcus sat in the living room, staring at the tiny photographs, tracing the faces with his eyes. Every ache he'd carried since she'd disappeared, every unanswered question collided with the reality in front of him. And for the first time in nearly a decade, he allowed himself to hope. Because he wasn't just protecting two lost girls anymore. He was about to discover that they were his. 3 weeks after Christmas, Marcus found the twins sitting on the living room floor, their lockets open in trembling hands. Tears ran down their cheeks. "Mom," Ariana whispered, "it's really her." Bright eyes, familiar smile. Natalia Reyes. His Natalia. He stared at the girls' faces. The shape of Bianca's nose, Ariana's stubborn chin, their hazel green eyes, it all fit. "Marcus?" Bianca said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "She's our mom." He swallowed hard, struggling to breathe. The years of searching, the loss, the ache, all of it came crashing down. He pulled out his phone. "We need a DNA test," he said, quietly, almost to himself. Later, the results confirmed it. Ariana and Bianca weren't just the girls he was protecting, they were his daughters. His heart swelled with disbelief and relief. He looked at them, sitting together like they always had, small hands clutching tarnished lockets. I'm your dad," he finally said. The words hung in the air, heavy and real. The girls stared at him, unsure, but something shifted in that moment. A beginning had arrived. The private investigator called within 2 days. Natalia Reyes was alive, hospitalized 3 weeks ago in Aurora with a severe infection, unconscious for days. When she woke, her first words had been about the girls. She was now in a rehabilitation facility in Wheat Ridge, recovering but fragile. Marcus sat in his car outside the facility, hands gripping the steering wheel. His phone rang. He answered. "Natalia?" His voice was cautious, choked with emotion. "Yes." Her voice was thin but unmistakable. "I found them. Ariana and Bianca. They're safe." There was a pause, then a sob. "Safe? Where? Are they hurt?" Marcus explained slowly, carefully, every step since he'd found the girls behind the dumpster. "They're with you?" she asked, disbelief and relief in equal measure. "Yes," he said, "and they're yours." Her voice cracked. I tried to reach you. I sent letters. I called. But Victor found out. He threatened me, Marcus. He said if I didn't disappear, he'd hurt the girls. And your mother, Patricia, she intercepted the rest. She made me think you didn't want us. She made me think you didn't want us." Marcus closed his eyes. Anger, guilt, relief, grief. He felt it all at once. "You didn't leave by choice," he said softly. "I never thought you would. I thought I'd lost you. I was scared, terrified. They threatened to ruin my life, my job, my family. I didn't know what to do. I thought leaving was the only way to protect you, and you." Marcus swallowed hard, nodding even though she couldn't see him. "We'll fix this," he said. "We'll get you back to them." Tears ran down both their cheeks as the years of lies, fear, and misunderstanding collapsed into one raw, heavy truth. The next step was clear: a reunion. The girls needed their mother, and she needed them. Marcus hung up, staring at the floor of his car. For the first time in nearly a decade, Hope felt real. The fractured past was finally leading towards something whole. Marcus parked outside the Mountain View Rehabilitation Center in Wheat Ridge, his hands gripping the steering wheel like he could hold himself together that way. Leo sat beside him, fidgeting with his hoodie strings, while Ariana and Bianca clung to each other in the back seat, silent and wide-eyed. "Are you ready?" Marcus asked gently. Ariana nodded. Bianca squeezed her hand tighter. They walked into the facility together, Marcus slightly ahead, trying to shield the girls from the world outside. Then they saw her, Natalia, sitting upright in her hospital bed, hair pulled back, pale but alive. The twins froze. Marcus could see every memory of fear in their eyes, years of being told they weren't wanted. But this woman, this face, was familiar in a way that made them gasp. Natalia's eyes widened the moment she saw them. Then she was moving, dropping to her knees, arms open. "My babies!" she cried. Ariana ran first, Bianca right behind her. Both fell into Natalia's embrace, sobbing uncontrollably. She clutched them as if she could hold every lost day back into her arms. Marcus stood back for a moment, letting the reunion unfold, his chest tight with emotion he couldn't name. Leo peeked out from behind Marcus's legs, unsure what to do, then stepped forward and whispered, "Hi, I'm Leo." Natalia smiled through tears. "Hi, sweetheart," she said, reaching for him. Leo hesitated, then let her hold his hand. The room filled with quiet sobs and whispered reassurances. The twins clung to her, finally safe, finally certain. Hours passed unnoticed. Eventually, Bianca and Ariana curled up on either side of Natalia, exhausted, and fell asleep. Marcus sat in the corner, watching. This was the moment he'd been waiting for, the moment everything that had been broken began to mend. He knew, even as he caught her eye, that nothing would ever be the same. And for the first time in years, he let himself believe it. It could be better. The weeks after the reunion were quiet in a way that felt almost foreign. Natalia's rehabilitation progressed steadily. Therapy sessions, doctor's appointments, and slow days of recovery filled her schedule, while Marcus maintained custody of Ariana and Bianca. The twins were adjusting, though cautiously. They still called him Mr. Marcus sometimes, hesitant to mix the new truth with the safety they had found. Leo, on the other hand, seemed to take to Natalia immediately. He followed her around the house, asking questions, showing her drawings, and insisting she sit beside him for story time. One afternoon, while they were all at the kitchen table, Leo suddenly looked up at Natalia with wide eyes. "Mom?" He froze instantly, realizing what he had said. Natalia knelt to his level, smiling gently. "You can call me whatever feels right, Leo. If Mom feels right, that's perfect." He blinked, then wrapped his arms around her. "Really?" she whispered, hugging him back. Ariana and Bianca watched, unsure what to say. Later that night, they pulled Marcus aside. "We've been watching you," Ariana said softly. "You braid our hair, chase away our nightmares, make sure we eat enough, and you love us, even before you knew we were yours." Bianca nodded. "We're really happy you're our dad." Marcus knelt beside them, heart tight with emotion. He said, "I'm proud to be your dad, and I always will be." From that moment, the word dad became natural, not a title forced by paperwork or DNA. It was earned in every meal, every bedtime story, every scraped knee they healed together. And slowly, the pieces of their new family started to feel whole. Spring had arrived in Lakewood, and with it came sunlight that made everything feel sharper, brighter, like life was daring them to notice it. The family spent Saturday at Bear Creek Lake Park. Leo ran ahead, backpack bouncing, while Ariana and Bianca stayed close to Marcus and Natalia. Ariana laughed, swinging high on the swings. Bianca followed, but a misstep sent her tumbling to the ground. She scraped her knee badly. "Dad!" Bianca called out, tears in her eyes. "It really hurts." Marcus was there in 2 strides, kneeling beside her, hand on her shoulder. He could see the fear in her eyes, but also the trust. "It's okay, Bia," Ariana said softly, brushing back her sister's hair. "Dad'll fix it. Dad always fixes things." Bianca looked up at Marcus, tearful but steady. "I know I'll be fine because you're my dad." Marcus's chest tightened. The word had weight he hadn't realized he'd been waiting for, spoken freely, with belief, with love. Later that evening, the girls asked to talk privately in the living room. They sat close, hands intertwined, faces serious. "Dad?" she said softly, testing the word. Marcus looked down, heart swelling. "Yeah, baby?" She smiled sleepily. "Just wanted to say it." Bianca nodded. "We're really happy you're our dad." Marcus knelt before them, unable to stop the emotion rising. "I'm proud to be your dad," he whispered, "and I always will be. Thank you for letting me." The girls smiled, small but sure. Natalia watched from the doorway, her own eyes glistening. Leo peeked in behind her, then ran forward to hug them all in one tangle of arms and warmth. That night, as Marcus closed the door to their shared bedroom, he finally allowed himself to feel it. The peace of a family fully choosing each other. A family built not just by blood, but by love, trust, and every small act that had brought them together. And in that moment, he knew this was only the beginning. And that's how a single act of kindness on a cold Christmas Eve changed the lives of 2 little girls and brought a family back together. If this story touched your heart, make sure to subscribe to Soul Strength Stories for more tales that restore your faith in humanity. Don't forget to like and share. It helps us bring more stories like this to viewers around the world.